Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's webinar, Young Professionals and Professional Memberships Follow-Up, a conversation with Helen McKay and Craig Graham. If you have any questions during this webinar, please submit these using the Q&A function and we will have time allocated to answer these towards the end. I will now pass you over to our moderator for this session, Rory McIntyre, Chairperson of the Edinburgh, Lothians and Fife District Centre. Over to you, Rory.
Thanks for that intro there, Heather. And good evening, everyone. Thanks an awful lot for your time this evening. Welcome to this event that's been run in collaboration between the Chartered Banker Institute's Edinburgh, Lothians and Fife District Centre and also Scottish Financial Enterprises Young Professionals Network. So this is the second event in a two-part series where we discuss professional memberships and the benefits that they can provide for your career. And I'm pleased that this evening we're joined by Craig Graham from the Chartered Banker Institute and Helen McKay of Lending Crowd. Both of them bring a wealth of experience in their careers and also with their affiliations with the Chartered Banker Institute. So I'm really looking forward to this event this evening, and hopefully those attending and watching back the playback will get an awful lot out of the content. So Craig, Helen, welcome along. Really appreciate your time this evening. Craig, if I can start with you first, do you mind just giving us a bit of a quick intro about yourself and your current role?
Yeah, so also my name is Craig Graham and I work with the Chartered Banker Institute. My role as a professional standards manager is to work with the banks and other institutes to help sort of develop and deliver the content out there to the students and make sure we can get the right content at the right level out to those students as well, helping the banks with the different inquiries that pop up, being a sort of relationship manager role as such there for the different bank clients that we have.
Thanks, Craig. And then Helen, same to you, a little bit about yourself and your role just now.
Hi, yeah, so I work for Lending Crowd, which is Scotland's only fintech small business lender. We started off as a peer-to-peer company. That's been suspended because of COVID at the moment, just to be fair to our lenders. And I've been there for 8 years. I was their first employee. And my current role is credit quality assurance and training manager. So basically I check the files for to make sure that the underwriters and other members of the credit team are following the correct process. And I'm also responsible for training where required and keeping process and policy up to date and anything else that I feel like getting involved in.
Thanks, Helen. Craig, if I can come back to you, I know you've mentioned there your current role, but do you mind giving us a bit of a flavour about your career history and the organisations you've worked for?
Yeah, no worries. So I actually joined Chartered Banker Institute in June of last year, so I've not even made it 12 months there as yet. Prior to that, I worked for different banks for 18 years. I started off retail banking for Bank of Scotland, obviously Lloyds Banking Group. I worked there for 10 years in a variety of roles across different branches and areas. And after a 10-year period, then moved on to Clydesdale and Yorkshire Bank, obviously now Virgin Money. Moved on there into the commercial banking area. So I was a relationship manager within small business. Absolutely loved the job. It was great fun working with sort of small local businesses and getting to meet lots of different people out in the network, etc. And then from there moved to HSBC for another term, doing the same role as a commercial relationship manager, which then took me up to the sort of 18 years full banking service as such prior to moving across to Chartered Banker in June, as you mentioned.
Fab, thanks, Craig. And Helen, same to you. Can you give us a flavour of the organisations you've worked for in your career history?
Yeah, well, like Craig, I started off in retail banking in branches, which was many moons ago and far different from what it is these days. We had a really good grounding. We used to do things like setting up standing orders. We used to mark off checks. I'm really showing my age now. But it was a really good grounding and a good understanding of how banking worked. Obviously, teller, serving in the cash. First promotion was as a personal customer advisor, which was really good, getting to know your customers. And then I became a branch manager in 2001. And then 2005, I moved across to a small business credit unit, dealing with loan applications, well, underwriting loan applications, up to 250,000, I think it was. And unfortunately, the unit closed and I was made redundant. So my first step outside Clydesdale Bank, just realised I haven't mentioned who I work for, was with Ulster Bank, who had set up a mortgage arrears support unit in St Andrews Square. So I was the team lead for an underwriting team that had been created to help with the insolvency side that was coming into play in Ireland. And I even sat an exam with the Institute of Bankers in Ireland on insolvency, which was really stressful, but I passed with flying colours, I'm pleased to say. And then in 2014, I had this great opportunity to go and join Lending Crowd as a credit analyst. I might be touching that a wee bit later on through our chat, but yeah, that's my career to date.
Great, thanks, Helen, and thanks to you both. It's really good to hear about your varied careers and the wealth of experience you bring along this evening to talk through them. So, if we can just now kind of pivot into what we're here to discuss, which is obviously professional memberships. I know that you're both heavily involved in the Chartered Banker Institute, so I just want to talk a little bit about how that institute membership assisted in your journey through the banking sector and what's led you to your roles today. So, Helen, could I start with you? So what part even has the Institute played in your career?
Well, I've taken a step back. When I was at school, I decided I wanted to go work in a bank because I liked counting the money from a charity collection at one time. And then when you go to high school and the careers advisor has a chat with you, and I mentioned I quite fancied working in a bank, and she then highlighted to me that you could go and do exams for banking, and that really interested me because I wasn't keen to go to university. So my first interaction with the Chartered Banker Institute, which was probably called the Institute of Bankers in Scotland back then, was sitting my exams. And I started off with a foundation course, and then that led me to be able to go off and do the full suite of exams, which were much different from what they are these days. But that gave me a good grounding for my career, especially when I chose to move across to business banking. And that was kind of my interest in business banking probably came from doing my exams to a certain extent, because I always enjoyed accounting at school, and analysing accounts during my exams really made me think that I quite fancied doing business banking. And when that opportunity came up, it was desirable to have your exams, so that, you know, because it's quite a step to go from retail banking, which I'm sure Craig will agree, into business banking. You have to be able to at least demonstrate some knowledge and understanding. So that's where it's helped me. And I suppose in later years, it was attractive to my current employer that I had sat exams and I was a qualified banker, because they needed someone that was professional as well as knowledgeable on financial services.
Great, thanks for that, Helen. It's great to hear how that really was a driver in you choosing the banking industry for your career, and how just that decision has now led on to the full length of your career. That's fantastic to hear. Thanks for sharing that with us. Craig, if I could turn to you, do you mind giving us a bit of a flavour of how the Institute's helped to influence your career?
Yeah, so similar to Helen, leaving school, wasn't really too sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work in a bank. At that stage, 16 years old, leaving school, got a job with a bank, and I'll be completely honest with you, when I joined, I thought to myself, I'll do this for a year to see if I like it, and to see if I really enjoy it. And I absolutely loved what I was doing. Working in the branch, meeting people, and getting to speak to all the different customers every day, different characters that would come in and out, all the regulars as well, which was fantastic. And branch colleagues, working with the branch colleagues, it was just a second family. It was fantastic. So that sort of led on for me, that year that I took out in order to see if I enjoyed the job and enjoyed banking, then resulted in 10 years in my first bank, as I mentioned. But it wasn't until after that 10 years when I then moved from retail to commercial banking, as Helen mentioned, and I moved into the business side of things, that it really became, prominent to me that it's something I needed to work on and strengthen. Working with, in the branch environment, I was working with business customers coming in and out, but I was by no means their business manager, passing stuff on to the business manager, speaking to the business managers. It was always an area of interest and something that I was keen to do, but never actually got the chance to do until after that 10-year mark. I moved on to it, and getting involved with the qualifications at that stage, being offered the chance to do the qualifications when I moved to Clydesdale Bank and commercial banking, pick up the entry-level certificate, and then from there I opted to go ahead and move forward and do the diploma afterwards, which was again for my own sake. I really did see the benefits and having that on, first of all, my CV, but for me, for growth and development going forward in my career, but also beneficial to my clients, my customers, knowing that they did have a proper banking professional looking after their business and looking after their accounts. It kind of gave them a bit of peace of mind that it wasn't someone off the streets that they were dealing with. It was someone who took the job as a professional seriously and saw it through to finish. So yeah, it was a little later in my career that I picked up with Chartered Banking Institute, but from there, then again having to move to another employer, moving to another bank, having that on my CV there, the professional qualified, being able to have the discussions. As soon as I moved into the role in a new bank, I was able to have discussions with clients straight away about, I may just be new, looking after your accounts, etc. But professionally qualified at what I do, I've been doing it for a number of years, and it really made the transition to looking after new clients, a new client base, much easier for myself and the client as well. So it's played a huge part in that factor, and one of the reasons for me joining Chartered Banking Institute in June of last year, as I said, I really did enjoy my job. I absolutely loved my job as a commercial relationship manager. Something I did mention in my interview was that I really wanted to feel a sense of sort of giving back in that sense and support colleagues in the banking industry when it came to doing their studies and ensure that they had the right qualifications, etc., behind them, and as a way to sort of give back as such. So that's why I was keen to take up the position when it came about.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Craig. And it is really interesting, as you say, to hear about how it was something that you did later in your career, and Helen, how it was a driver near the start of your career. It's it's really fantastic to just hear the story about how completely different journeys through the institute and through the qualifications offered have actually helped your careers progress in different ways, and also as well kind of epitomise the progression of your careers as well. As you've advanced with your qualifications, your careers have also advanced to more senior level. So that's really fantastic, really interesting. Well, thanks an awful lot for sharing that. And obviously that's how the Institute's influenced your journey. And we spoke a lot about your careers and where your starting point was and where you've got to now. But I know that's obviously, that hasn't stopped as you've got into your current roles, and as well as your qualifications assisting you throughout the journey. Your involvement with the Institute is obviously still going strong to this day. Craig, you touched on it there as well, given you're now an employee of the Chartered Banking Institute. So if I can maybe start with you then, Craig, and continue on that theme. So just do you mind telling us a little bit more about what your role is currently in the Chartered Banking Institute?
Yeah, so I work with also one of the clients of Chartered Banking Institute, and work with the various departments, whether it be retail, commercial, private, whatever arm of the bank, looking to speak to myself, and we talk about the needs and the requirements that the employees have, the colleagues have, where they need the training, which qualifications would maybe suit them best. I mean, it's all very well that an individual could pop onto the Chartered Banker Institute, look through the qualifications and think, I'm going to choose something which I want to do, and then they don't enjoy it, it's not relevant, it's difficult for them to learn. So one of the things that I do is I work with the sort of senior managers within my client, and we work together in order to make sure that they're getting the right qualification and the right content being passed on to the colleagues. It's not always about professional qualifications. At the end of the day, we do have lots of other resources and things also we'll touch on later, but yeah, it's ensuring that they get the right quality of content and relevance of content passed on to them.
Great, thanks for that, Craig. And Helen, just kind of same question to you, a little bit about your current role. I know that Craig's an employee of the Institute. I imagine for you sometimes it feels like you are with how many things you're involved in. But do you mind telling us a little bit about your role with the Institute?
Yeah, I do feel like it's a second job sometimes, but it's voluntary, so I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So I guess, you know, once I passed my exams, which was a very proud moment, and I was able to graduate. So we used to have a graduation ceremony back there. So that was a very proud moment for me, because, you know, although I didn't go to university, I did graduate like many others. And then they introduced the Chartered Banker introduced Chartered Banker status. So just to touch on what that is all about, it's a way to endorse that members are continuing to continue with continuing professional development. Sorry, I phrased that completely wrong. Throughout their career. So it's not just that you've passed your exams, but you are evidencing that you're still, you know, taking pride in your career and develop your skills to meet the demands of your role or your next role. So each year we've got to complete 35 hours of continuous professional development to retain your Chartered Banker status. So I've done that since the outset, and there's a great tool now on the within the Chartered Banker website now that you can record it nice and easily. So to make sure that I fulfilled that, I would go along to some local district events, and that's when I probably become really more involved with the Institute over the last 8 years. So after attending a few Edinburgh, Lothians and Fife district centre events, I was approached by someone in the committee to see if I'd be interested in joining the committee. And I accepted that, and in March 2019 I became chair until last month when Rory took over. And I have to point out that you don't have to be invited to be part of the committee. You can apply, you can come along to any meeting, committee meeting, to just find out more about what we do, or you can apply to be a part of the committee, usually around AGM time. But what an individual can get out of that is really quite beneficial, I think, in terms of experience. You know, you can you've got insight into how a committee works. You can help with planning and organising events. You can take up a role within the committee, and you could, you know, even become chair. And you know, that's quite a high profile, prestigious position. So I've been involved in the local district centre for many years now. I also, you know, at the time after being made redundant, that gave me some time to get a wee bit involved in what was known as the Financial Educational Partnership at the time, and it's now called My Skills and Future Project, which is an initiative that offers free workshops in financial capability to schools and colleges and community groups across Scotland. And it's volunteers who are members of the Chartered Banker Institute that can go out and educate people. And for me, it was always something I was quite interested in, to give something back. I guess what Craig was saying, that, you know, he joined the Institute to give something back. So I got involved in that. The Institute's really good in supporting you in terms of presentation skills, workshops, and they provide all the material as well. And I don't think that's something that everybody's really fully aware, that, you know, that's another opportunity to go out and add to your CV, or just gain experience and interaction, or give something back. I mentioned my current employer, and our CEO was very keen to understand why I wasn't a fellow of the Chartered Banker Institute, and encouraged me to find out a bit more about that. So I'm very pleased to say that I had two sponsors that recommended me, and in December 2016 I became a fellow of the Chartered Banker Institute, which was another proud moment of my career. And that involves being an ambassador for the Institute, and that's led me to be involved in lots of other things as well. You know, whether it's giving feedback on a new initiative, or just giving an opinion, or become involved in subject matter quotations in the Chartered Banker magazine, or whatever. It's up to you what you want to get involved in. And then in 2019, the membership forum was set up to provide an opportunity for some of the members to get involved in the governance of the Institute, as well as promoting the benefits of the membership within financial services. And you know, that again is open to any member to apply to become part of the membership forum. I think it's a good way for individuals to understand a bit more about not just the governance of the Institute, but you know, a bit of an insight of, you know, how boards work, and strategy, depending on how far you want your career to go. And you know, you might not always want to be in a big bank, but you might want to be involved in a smaller organisation that, you know, you could benefit from that knowledge. And it's certainly, between my experience at Lending Crowd and being in the membership forum, they've worked very much hand in hand to give me an overall rounded understanding of strategy and governance, I guess. And I'm very pleased to say that last year I was made the current chairperson of the membership forum, and it is a very interesting and rewarding thing. And I'll just touch on one final thing that I'm involved in, and that's the fellowship mentoring scheme, which has allowed me to. I started off in the pilot last year, and basically it's reviewing and helping applicants to be a fellow, to get them through that process, and hopefully they gain their fellowship on the back of it. And that gives you an opportunity to expand your network as well. In fact, you know, the membership forum has got a really good, strong network, people across all different banks or financial organisations in different roles, and it really opens up your network of opportunities. So I've probably talked long enough, but hopefully it gives you a flavour of some of the benefits that being a member of the Institute can give you, that, you know, can enhance your career skills.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for that, Helen. And if actually, before we move on, if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask a bit of a supplementary question, and I'll maybe open up to you both. But actually, just as you're talking there, it is really evident that with all the things that you're getting involved in, whether it's be your external roles separate to your day job, Helen or Craig, your roles that you have liaising with the various partners that the Chartered Banking Institute has. Not that I think either of you need it, but I imagine all of that has been fantastic for your professional profile. I know that you're both fairly active on LinkedIn as well. I imagine it must be really good for you in terms of the network that you now have across the banking industry.
Yeah, I'll go first on that one. There, give Helen a break. Yeah, I have to say, getting involved with all the different people I've met since joining the Institute in June has really expanded my network, and it is fantastic that how quickly it just grows and you meet lots of new people. And I have to say that when I was still in commercial bank side of banking industry, I attended networking events prior to COVID, also when you were allowed to go outside and meet people. And going to those sorts of types of events were fantastic for enhancing your profile and bringing it forward. And those types of events, again, being professionally qualified and going along to those events, it gave you the something behind your back. You knew that you weren't in the wrong room, that you were going to the right place, and that no matter what was said and what came up, you knew in your own mind that because I was professionally qualified, I had a right to be sitting at that table. Not that there was any stigma if you didn't, but it still gave me that little bit of comfort that I knew what I was talking about to people across different industries, etc. So it was fantastic. But yeah, as you mentioned, Rory, the addition to raising the profile is fantastic, and Chartered Bank obviously offer many different opportunities for people to do that through ourselves as well. We've got a few different schemes obviously we can touch on if required, which enable people to enhance their own profiles if required.
Brilliant, thanks, Craig. Helen, anything you want to add on to that about raising the profile to it?
I've been lucky enough to be invited to be a panelist in a few of the webinars organised by the Chartered Banking Institute. So I think last year was on one of the bounce back loan series of events, and I was also lucky enough to be in the International Women's Day event in 2021 as well as a panelist in that, and that opens up your profile and allows you to meet some great people that are on the panel as well, so that you've got other like-minded people that you can go and tap into for advice. You've also got the opportunity, and this is open to anyone, to have an article in the Chartered Banker magazine. They're always looking for subject matter experts, or even just to give a quote. I'm sure Heather's from time to time been putting out things on LinkedIn asking if anybody's interested in giving their opinion or their experience. And I do know that within the Institute they are keen to have subject matter experts, whether it be in green finance or a specialist niche, because at the end of the day, while they've got professional specialist employees, there are little niche markets that you do need to have a subject matter expert, and they encourage the membership to put their hand up and say, oh, I know about this, I can come along and speak about that, I can do a podcast about that, or do a paper or whatever's required. So that's something to keep in mind, because I think out there's a lot of people that have got a lot of experience that they can share and help to educate the rest of us. Because let's face it, we are the Institute is an educational body, and it's not just about getting your qualifications and going. They're there to support you through your career, and I think that's an important thing to take away. And that's certainly evolved since I started out in my career, because you did just do your exams and that was it. Whereas now there is great support there to see you through your career.
I would fully agree in that one, Helen. it's much different even from when I was sitting in the qualifications, etc. And that is much more of a community when it comes to other people sitting the exams and working in study groups, etc. And that's another way for you to meet people across different divisions of even your own organisation, never mind people in other organisations or other areas of banking and finance, even just meeting people internally that are in different departments. It's a fantastic way to internally and externally grow your own network and profile. Again, you touched on the magazine and the articles. That's just one way. You're right, Helen. That's just one way that people can offer to put their opinions across and get printed and again enhance that profile. So yeah, fully agree with all that, Helen. Fantastic.
Great, thanks for that both. Really interesting stuff there. If I just park what we've discussed regarding the Institute and how it's helped you and how it can help our attendees this evening, we'll come back to it, don't worry, that's why we're here, obviously, to discuss how those professional memberships can benefit your career. But on the benefits of careers, it's really interesting just to hear how you both have had quite varied careers and how your careers have maybe taken different directions throughout it as well. If I can just take a step back a second, and just for the benefit of our audience and anyone watching it on playback, what sort of career advice would you give anyone? You're both obviously very experienced and you've had a lot of success out of that. So have you got any nuggets of wisdom or anything you would like to pass on, that just general career advice? And Helen, I'll maybe start with you first, if that's okay.
Yeah, I suppose don't be narrow-minded. I mean, I guess when I joined banking, I did understand that there was a bit more to it than just you go to a high street bank and you'd have a teller serving you. I did appreciate that, but as time goes on, you realise that there's a bit more to banking and finance than just serving the public or being a relationship manager. There's lots of support functions in the background, in IT or risk or analytics, HR, legal. You don't have to be a general banker. Specialised people. We know quite a few solicitors that have come and joined banking. In fact, we've got a member in the local district committee that's a solicitor by trade, works in banking. So consider what you enjoy doing. If there's a role that interests you, then find out what skills you need to meet the requirements of that role. I think it's also important to complete CPD on an annual basis. That'll hone you into either filling in those skill gaps or expand your knowledge on areas that you don't know what you want to progress to. The Institute recently released a new tool called My Career Hub just at the end of last year, and really fortunate that the membership forum was allowed to review it before it went live and provide their feedback. And I think it's an absolute brilliant tool that can help plan those skill gaps. I've been through it a couple of times. I actually shared it with my my line manager, the results, and we discussed, what gaps that we could put into my CPD for this year. Give every role your best shot. Make sure you ask for feedback and advice. If you find that it's maybe not the role for you, then keep going with it, but then start to plan your next move. I've been really lucky that my line managers have believed in me, and many have helped to develop my skills without me even being aware of it. But a lot of that's to do with how you build trust and a relationship with your line manager. Be open and honest with them. They won't expect you to just be in that role forever. If you're an ambitious person, they'll fully accept that you're only going to be there 1-2 years and you want to move on, and that demonstrates your ambition. And if you've got a supportive line manager, then they're going to help you achieve that. So I think that's important. And the final thing that I would probably say is, if you can, take a leap of faith. And I moved from Ulster Bank, part of a large banking group, and when I was made aware of Lending Crowd as a start-up business in Edinburgh, I thought, this is an exciting opportunity. I'd be mad not to take advantage of it. And I left this big organisation, and I went 8 years ago this week. I was in an office with me and the CEO and the other co-founder, and we thought, well, what do we do now? We've got to build a business. We had to build credit models. We had to put processes in place, make sure we met regulatory requirements. And that made me realise what experience I gained from banking. And then any skills gaps I had, I was tapping into the resources from the Chartered Banker Institute to fill that. And it's been the most rewarding part of my career. So if you do get an opportunity like that, then go for it. You've got nothing to lose.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thanks, Helen. That's really interesting to hear. Yeah, just how that leap of faith has ended up being a massive positive for your career. Craig, same question to you, if that's okay, in terms of what sort of career advice would you give to our attendees and those watching on playback?
Yeah, probably be able to echo some of the points that Helen mentioned there, particularly the leap of faith and the feedback side of things. So as I mentioned earlier on in the conversation, I spent 10 years at my first employer, where I worked in the different branch networks, etc., and I absolutely loved the job. Thought it was great, to be honest with you. Thought I was going to be there until I retired, because it was just so much fun and enjoyed the people I worked with. Then at a point in the career came up where there was potential for redundancies, and I realised at that time that doing that role maybe wasn't going to be safe and wasn't going to be the same job it was always going to be. With digital banking, etc., evolving, things might change. I need to make sure I've got something else here that I can look forward to. And as Helen mentioned, always keep an eye on what the next move could be for you. So on that front, I would have to say, yeah, stay curious of what other roles are available and what you may wish to move forward into. Stay open-minded about what you could go to. Fortunately for myself, I did have a really supportive line manager, as Helen mentioned. He was fantastic at giving me my first shot at management within the branch network, etc., which is somewhere I didn't see myself going, but that opened up so much more opportunity for me moving into the management sector. Prior to then, also giving me again the nudge that I needed to say, well, if you want to leave altogether and go for the commercial banking role, then go for it. Which was obviously, you don't expect your line manager to encourage you to leave. Well, maybe not on all occasions, but he really saw that it was something that I wanted to do, and he wouldn't be able to tie me down forever. So yeah, I would certainly say that for me, I probably waited too long to have that leap of faith, and I would say that if anyone else was having ideas or looking at what they wanted to do, then trust your gut and go for it and go for the change. It was huge and shaped my career and life from there on, to be honest with you.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Craig. That's really interesting to hear. And thanks to you both for that. Yeah, a lot of good advice there from you guys about careers. So yeah, thanks an awful lot for that. If I bring us back to talking a little bit about professional memberships in the Institute, and also bearing in mind Scottish Financial Enterprise Young Professionals members along with us this evening as well, and watching on playback. Touching back on those benefits of professional memberships and what it can really do for you. I know we've discussed an awful lot about what it's done for you both specifically and how you managed to capitalise on the opportunities that membership of the Chartered Banking Institute has offered you. And you've touched a little bit on what the wider opportunities are, but if I can now just focus us a little bit on that, just to elaborate a little bit more, just as what in particular the Chartered Banking Institute offers for members. And if I maybe start with you and that one, Craig, given your day job and what you're involved in, do you mind talking us a little bit through what the Institute offers for its members?
Yeah, so obviously when you're talking to people about Chartered Banking Institute, the first thought's our professional qualifications. That is a huge part of the business and what we offer. Being the only banking institute in the world which can offer chartered banker status is a huge thing, a huge big tick for us. You know, world leaders at the first in qualification degree in sustainable finance as well. A lot of firsts for Chartered Banking Institute, so certainly rank high up there when it comes to the qualifications and accolades. But you're right, there is much more to, you know, membership benefits that you get with membership at Chartered Banking Institute, including the opportunity for networking. Obviously, the event this evening is one of many that happen on a regular occasion, where you get a chance to meet and ask questions of other people across the banking industry network. Obviously, Rory, yourself and I met initially through conversations in regards to SFE YP, etc. as well. So it really just shows how fantastic the membership can be in terms of it opens up the conversations in that sense. Something we mentioned earlier on was mentorship. So I'll sort of touch on that and another point. You know, the mentorship, Chartered Banking Institute can work as a sort of platform for mentors and mentees. If you're looking to be a mentor and looking to sort of pass on some wisdom and help guide and coach someone through their career, you can certainly put your hand up and offer to do that. And Chartered Banking Institute will help pair you up with someone who is looking for such guidance and be able to also pair two characters together, which we feel will work. That is an excellent opportunity. And again, I wish it was something that I was more aware of when I was first starting out in banking. It's something that I didn't really become aware of until much later. Probably touching on a piece of Helen's advice there, that was from me not putting up my hand and asking questions and asking for feedback, that I wasn't aware of that. So yeah, part of me joining Chartered Banking Institute to give something back includes, you know, trying to get the awareness out there of these types of schemes. It's absolutely fantastic. We also have, Chartered Banking Institute have the 2025 Foundation, which is more of a sort of charitable arm to the Institute, where we offer 16 to 18-year-olds from low-income backgrounds the chance to get involved in business and workshops. We had an Easter programme just run recently, which was, you know, absolutely fantastic. The backing we got and the interest that we got. It was run as sort of boot camps as such. So you had a Dragon's Den type experience where, you know, you had to design an app involved with, you know, helping people to avoid people being victims of fraud. We had a business experience workshop as well. You know, people got to meet, you know, up to CEOs, get involved in meetings and day-to-day aspects and things, and that's to give the 16 to 18-year-olds a chance to really touch on the business and get a feel for it and see if it's something they're looking to do. It's all paid for, it's fully funded, which is fantastic. And it's not only that experience that lasts the duration of the workshops, but it also extends on to a further 10 months of mentoring. So that's another mentorship element which Chartered Banking Institute can help pair you up there, and that young person gets a mentor for the next 10 months. Whether they're going back to school or college at that stage, it allows them to then have that mentor there, which can help guide them potentially into their career in banking, if that's what they see themselves doing, which is an absolutely fantastic opportunity.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks for that, Craig. And Helen, if I can just come to you now and just kind of continue that conversation on, and I have realised the time, I do want to give adequate time for question and answer, so maybe just kind of go through this last little bit so we allow us some time for that. But continuing on that in terms of what the Institute can offer its members, you did touch on this earlier on, Helen, talk a little bit about those continuing professional developments, CPD resources that the Institute offers. You mentioned My Career Hub briefly, and I see that Heather's also posted a link into a video on the YouTube page about what My Career Hub could offer. But do you mind giving us a little bit more information about that, Helen, before we then move on to Q&A?
Yeah, so I just realised I just kind of dropped it in there and then left it hanging. But basically, it's full of material to assist with CPD. So there's blogs, there's podcasts, there's interactive assessments. There's support and assistance on creating CVs, interview tips, and I think, well, Craig was going to share his experience about his little test through it. So I don't really want to steal his thunder, but it's really good. It's got really good tips on where to go and develop your skills, and I think you can get a lot out of it, to be honest, because we all know what we need to do, but where do you go and get resources for that?
Yeah, well, that's good. Thanks for that, Helen. And Craig, is there anything you want to add on My Career Hub?
Yeah, certainly. My experience with My Career Hub, obviously when it first launched, I thought I've got to see a bit of this and get involved in this. You go onto My Career Hub and there are thousands of pieces of content of learning material there, which you can launch and view and mark as favourites for later on, etc. Sort of coming across that first of all, though, it can be a bit startling and leaves you a bit unsure. There are assessments and quizzes, etc., that you can do, and it's very short. Helen's obviously touched on them earlier on that she's been through them as well. So you can go through just these very short questionnaires, and from there, the My Career Hub will give you a plan of different areas that you feel that you maybe want to touch up on different skills for, and help go from there. There is also a fantastic piece for a CV builder, elevator pitch builder, etc. There's different tools on there which will help people in different roles. But yeah, if you've not been onto the My Career Hub yet, go on, give it a go, fill in the quick questionnaire at the start, and it will guide you to the content that it feels is most relevant for you. It doesn't just restrict you to that content. You can go on and view others as you see fit. But I would most definitely say it's a fantastic opportunity to build on skills. I had a conversation yesterday with a client who were looking for some additional skills for their colleagues. They weren't too sure if the professional qualifications was going to be the right line for them. And I directed them to the My Career Hub, and they were blown away with the resource. They thought it was absolutely fantastic. The level of content and the amount of time that you want to invest in it can vary. So it was really suited down to them. It was very flexible and suited them to a T of what they required. So yeah, if you've not had a look at the My Career Hub yet, watch the video that Heather shared on the chat, and then have a look at it if you've got to be able to sign in and view it.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Craig. Yeah, I'd highly recommend that as well. I know we do have a couple of members along from SFE YP as well tonight. So yeah, they also have similar functionality on their website for members as well. So yeah, it's just great to see that, as well as all of the benefits of professional membership that we've discussed this evening. There's so much more there for you as well, just to do in your kind of solo learning, isn't there?
Yeah, lots of fantastic different pieces there, just to build your own skills at your pace and your time that you want to do it.
Brilliant. Right, well, thanks for that, both. I think maybe in the interest of time, we'll start to move on to question and answer. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat box. What we'll do just before briefly moving on, I know that one of the things that we did want to discuss, given the young professionals focus, was also the Young Banker of the Year competition. So just to give a bit of a quick bit of info on that, so we can then stop for questions. I actually was a former semi-finalist of the Young Banker of the Year competition last year. And in terms of, that's another just great benefit of members, the membership of the Chartered Banker Institute can offer you. Great again for that, raising the profile that we discussed earlier on. Rosie Lyons, who won it last year, has been fantastic at raising her profile throughout the course of the year by getting involved even more in the Chartered Banker Institute. And again, similar to those themes that we discussed earlier on regarding doing something quite different for your career. For me personally, it was fantastic because actually the last couple of years, the question to applicants has all been partnered with the United Nations and around their principles of responsible banking, which is great to see the United Nations getting involved with the Chartered Banker Institute on the Young Banker of the Year competition. And I'm not going to lie, for me, it was really pushed me out of my comfort zone to actually sit there and present to someone from the UN. It was something completely different that you most definitely wouldn't do in your day job. So yeah, again, something really good that the Institute offers to its members and its younger members in particular. So definitely check that out on the website and follow the page on LinkedIn so you can keep up to date with that. And I would say that as well, if there's anyone on tonight or also watching this in playback who doesn't follow the Chartered Banking Institute's page on LinkedIn or SFE's page on LinkedIn or SFE YP's page on LinkedIn, feel free to follow all of those pages. There's loads of great content that comes through there. And plus as well, it gives you access to events like this evening. But brilliant. I think we'll conclude there in terms of the content of the evening. We have ran over slightly from what we planned, but thanks so much to you both for talking through that. I think that's been fantastic in terms of hearing an awful lot about your careers, your experience with the Chartered Banking Institute, and also what it can offer our attendees this evening. If I can just move on now just to some general Q&A, we do have a couple of pre-submitted questions that I'll maybe start us off with. So we discussed an awful lot earlier on about career advice and what career advice you would give your the attendees tonight. I'll maybe ask this question to you both, but actually, what's been the best bit of career advice that you've been given throughout your career by someone that you've been working closely with? So, Helen, I'll maybe come to you first on that one.
Thanks, Rory. Probably to believe in myself more. I think we're all quite bad at Scottish people are quite bad at not talking themselves up and believing in themselves and raising their head and say, oh, I can do this, I'm good at that. I do remember when I thought I could actually run a branch, and it was never something I ever thought I could do. When I first joined banking, I know banking changed an awful lot. I thought, oh, well, I can see me only being supervisor level. I couldn't go beyond that. And probably branch manager by the time I fell into that role was maybe equivalent to supervisor, but it did have a lot more added to it as well, because basically you had to make sure the door was locked at night. But I think probably, yes, believe in yourself. You know.
Great, thanks, Helen. And Craig, same question to you. Any good bits of career advice you've received over the years?
Yeah, probably the one which still obviously is a very easy one to take on board, and in all aspects of your career, is to continue to push yourself out with your comfort zone. Again, spending 10 years in the one sort of role as such for me was something that I was scared to do. Again, scared to take that leap of faith, and it was through that supportive manager who did say to me, you know, go for it, push yourself, get out of your comfort zone. I moved to a whole new bank, a whole different, different department, moved from retail to commercial, no contacts in that bank, etc. That was the sort of first leap for me and first sort of push out. I would then say that after that, pushing myself out with my comfort zone included attending the networking events, etc. that I mentioned. It wasn't something I was very keen to do. Those who met me on my first few networking events will know that I was very shy, and then I found myself sort of later on, prior to the COVID restrictions, actually attempting to juggle during one of the networking sessions. So it just shows that putting yourself out there a little bit and stepping out your comfort zone then sort of expands your comfort zone, and it's made a huge difference to me. And I wouldn't be on here having these conversations tonight if I hadn't continued to push myself and stretch that little bit extra every time.
Yeah,
brilliant, thanks.
Probably something that I could maybe, that's just come to mind, and it wasn't necessarily anyone I worked for that gave me this piece of advice, but someone once told me that if you go to a meeting, no matter how many people are there, always trying to think about a question to ask, and it's going to be horrible and it's going to be uncomfortable. So this was advice that I was given in my late 20s, early 30s. And yes, it does make you feel really uncomfortable, but you feel really good once you've put your hand up and asked the question. And I remember doing it in a conference where there was probably about 100 people there. and I did put up my hand and ask a question, and that is a little way of building confidence, and as you say, Craig, just pushing yourself out your comfort zone, because I was really quite shy back then.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice. Okay, another pre-submitted question I've got here for you both is that we've obviously discussed your long careers and the fact that the industry has changed an awful lot. What do you think that you're most excited about for the future of banking and finance in terms of how it can change even more? And Craig, I'll maybe come to you first on this one and pick on you first and give Helen a chance to think of an answer and swapping around from last time.
For me, Rory, that's a very easy one. Right now, I'm currently studying the qualification for the Green and Sustainable Finance through the Chartered Banking Institute. It's something which has interested me for a while, and then been able to go ahead and study it now. It sort of really gives me that insight into the industry of where the industry is moving. Like Helen's starting off in the branch network, where we're dealing with checks and standing orders and everyone's day-to-day bills, etc., coming through. You're going from one end right up to the corporate end when it comes to green and sustainable finance, and the qualifications really helped me to understand that full broad aspect. It's not just what can global corporations do in order to help tackle climate change, but what can I do in my household? What can I do personally? And you're having a chat with your mates down the pub. What can all of them do in order to play their part? So yeah, it's not just one rule for one and one rule for the rest. Green sustainable finance is really going to change and revolutionise banking. So for me, that was a key interest. When the qualification became available, I thought, yeah, I'm going to have a go of that one, definitely.
Well, thanks, Craig. Helen, same question to you.
Yeah, probably for me, I have seen so many changes in banking that you wouldn't believe. But I think for me is the excitement of fintech and banking working together now. And it's not so much the banks and technology in the background as a separate entity. I think a lot of us that have been in banking for a long time know that there's quite a lot of creaky old legacy systems that need investment and whatnot. But I think a lot of the new fintechs that are emerging, and you just need to look at Fintech Scotland and how many new businesses have sprung up in the last 5 years, even probably 2-3 years, that'll be there to support the banking industry, and they can work together to deliver good service to and protect clients as well, because I mean there's so many different facets to fintech industries, companies that are coming on board that can help make a better banking experience. It is sad that high street banks are disappearing, but we are moving to the next stage, I guess, of evolution. I wouldn't say that they'll be maybe gone forever. Everything goes through in cycles, and there's maybe scope there for even banks collaborating together to do sort of little pop-ups where they can still serve their clients. But yeah, that's for what excites me a wee bit.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one, Helen. Some of the technical and the technology potential that we're seeing in the next few years, I think it could potentially be scary, given that the exponential rate of technology, when you consider things like AI and machine learning and how that's all going to play a part in terms of how we serve our customers, but also then what Craig mentioned regarding the green and sustainable side of things, and how that actually might then, or how it's going to actually change the products that we also offer our customers as well. So yeah, thanks an awful lot for that both. That is us at 6:59, so we did have another pre-submitted question, but we'll leave that today because we're running out of time. But thanks so much to you both for your time this evening. It was really interesting hearing from you and your experience and how you would advocate professional memberships for people trying to elevate their career and take it to the next level. It's been fantastic hearing about everything that the Chartered Banker Institute offers for its members, and hopefully our attendees this evening and those watching on playback will really be able to get a good flavour of what that membership can offer you and how you can really capitalise on that in order to take your career to the next level and really develop yourself personally. So thanks so much for your time this evening, and to all our attendees for a long thanks for joining us. I hope you all have a lovely evening. And as Helen mentioned earlier on, if anyone has any queries about what we do as the Edinburgh Lothians and Fife District Centre, feel free to reach out via LinkedIn, and we're happy to have those conversations. So thanks, everyone.